What is up, my investing goblins? It's Ruben here. I'm gonna be talking about exactly what happened in the market this week. It was somewhat of a bloodbath, a lot of consumer fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I'm gonna be sharing exactly what I'm thinking, what my future outlook is, and what I'm doing with my portofino moving forward. But with that being said, go ahead, keep watching, and let's get right into it. All right, so what is going on in the market? We had an absolutely bloody week this week. If you lost money, which if you didn't lose money, I need to find out what voodoo magic you're doing, because I lost money and I know a lot of people lost money. We had the S&P down 2.6% this week, the QQQ down 5.38%. NVDA, my favorite stock as of right now, who I am a poster boy for, down 10.87% this week. Absolutely insane. I was on Wall Street Bets this week, and there was this infographic showing the biggest single day market cap losses in market history. And the top 10 biggest market cap losses in a single day, 9 of them are NVIDIA and 1 of them is Amazon. We had $600 billion loss on the 27th of January, $280 loss in 24, $250 loss in 22, $230 million loss, billion dollar loss in 25. We have Amazon at number 7, and NVIDIA is the whole list. So NVIDIA, this is nothing new for NVIDIA, and so I think a lot of people they get scared when stuff like this happens, rightfully so, because if you have $100,000 invested in NVIDIA and it loses 11% a week, well, you just lost $11,000. So rightfully so. But whenever we look at the chart and we see the 500% gains that NVIDIA has had, and you see the little slow up and down, yeah, that little small down is where we're at right now, is what I believe. Considering the future that we have with tech, with AI infrastructure, with data center requirements, it's just, I can do a whole video and I talk about it every single video. But yeah, with all that being said, bloody week in the market. Why, Ruben? Why is the market so bloody? Is it because people hate making money? No. Surprisingly, people like making money. I don't know if you know that. People like making money. The market downturn is largely due to Mr. Mango, Donald Trump, enacting his tariffs. And this is just providing us more and more uncertainty in the future of what our economy looks like. The tariffs on Canada and Mexico are going into effect March 4th. I want to say it was March. I saw March 1st somewhere, but I think I saw March 4th. Not quite sure what date it's going to be exactly. I think it's March 1st. I mean, it makes sense if all of a sudden revenue of a company that is based out in Canada or in Mexico or in China, and we can't guess what their future income is going to look like, their future revenue, gross margins, any of that stuff, it makes sense that people would be wanting to put their stocks into cash so that way they can have some on the sidelines, even though it's being eaten away by inflation. Which brings me to my next point, is that the inflation numbers got released today, and it looks like we had a 2.5% inflation rate reported. Also, it looks like that consumer average income rose, but consumer spending lowered in January, which sounds concerning. But considering that consumer spending is at a peak high in November and December, people don't typically go November, December spending all that they have buying gifts for Christmas and then continue that in January. I promise you, if you have a family, if you have anybody that you're buying gifts for after Christmas, you don't want to look at anything over $4. So consumer spending is down. Yes, it's bad because we need spending in order to turn this wheel of an economy, but honestly, it's not that surprising. It's not worrying me that bad. It is what it is. I don't know why people are freaking the frick out. It's absolutely insane. Anyways, so tariffs, uncertainty of the future of the economy, inflation being at 2.5%, which was expected. So it's nothing that we didn't expect. It's not great, but I think we see the largest downturns in the market when we see the unexpected, and that's why uncertainty is such a volatile topic and a volatile reason in the market for people to absolutely go off and selling. So without that being said, if you're enjoying the video so far, I would greatly appreciate if you took 2 seconds right now, leave a like down below. This stuff is what I love to do. It's my passion, and so every single time you leave a like, it encourages me to keep going. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and keep on going. We had NVIDIA earnings drop this Wednesday. Amazing. A lot of the market was dependent on how NVIDIA was doing. Semiconductor and tech sales were absolutely plummeting this week with just the way that the shares were trading at. But NVIDIA released earnings and they actually had a $1 billion over expectancy on their earnings per share, which was absolutely insane, as well as their new product, their Blackwell GPUs, which is, I believe, replacing their Hopper line of GPUs, the H100s. So their new product had $11 billion in revenue, which according to NVIDIA is their largest product ramp in company history. In 1 quarter of sales, they did $11 billion in revenue. And this is huge because NVIDIA did $39.3 billion in revenue. So we're talking a quarter of that, a little bit over a quarter of that was done by just the new product launch. $39.3 billion in quarterly revenue. That's up 12% from Q3 and 78% from 1 year ago. We're talking that this company, who we see has had an exponential stock chart graph, is still beating earnings, is still consistently being profitable. I want to say they beat 17 out of 19 of their last quarterly earnings reports. They have beaten expectations almost every single time. I'm looking at this company and it's a great company. Jensen Huang, however you say his name, all respect to that man. That man in his leather jackets. I need to get myself a crocodile jacket if NVIDIA gets to 175. You know what? If NVIDIA gets to 175 by March 20th, 2026, I'm going to buy a genuine crocodile leather jacket and I will wear it and I will do an episode on NVIDIA wearing a crocodile leather jacket. Anyways, largest product ramp in history. They exceeded expectations by $1 billion, $39.3 billion in revenue. They had a data center revenue of $35.6 billion, up 16% from Q3 and 93% from a year ago. I don't think you guys understand how hard it is to increase profits every single quarter. Imagine if you're, I don't know how many of you guys are business owners, but if you're a business owner and you every 3 months have to increase your sales from the last 3 months, that is difficult, extremely difficult. You have to be constantly innovating. And when you're exceeding by 16%, that's absolutely insane. And if you're not a business owner, I'm sorry, you probably don't understand. That's insane. When you are in management of a large scale company and you see that if a company makes $100 million a year and you have to increase next year by say 10%, that's $10 million that you have to just somehow gain. There's market share that needs to be grabbed. And I think NVIDIA has a lot of this market share. I don't think AMD can compete. I don't think Qualcomm can compete. These other companies that make these chips, I think NVIDIA is by far leading this race, and it's not even close. It's not even close. And there's so much dependency from Meta, from Apple, from Amazon, from all these companies that are trying to win this AI race. Sure, are they trying to develop their own chips and do it in-house? Yes, but everyone's still relying on NVIDIA, and that's what it is. And yeah, with all that being said, the earnings report was phenomenal. They had a record full year revenue of $130 billion, up 114% from last year. They doubled their revenue from last year. They went from $65 billion to 130. I don't know how you guys understand how insane that is, but I remember Wednesday, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I was listening to the earnings report and I heard this and I'm like, this is going to absolutely pump. I had my call options open on my Robinhood portfolio, my Portofino, and I'm like, this is going to absolutely rip. I'm going to be a trillionaire. I'm like thinking, what color Lamborghini am I going to buy? I'm already speccing out the interior. I'm like, okay, my homies get Lamborghinis. My mom and dad gets a Lamborghini. My whole family gets a Lamborghini. They're going to be all matching. I'm like already contemplating all this stuff. And I look at the stock price and it's pumping. It pumps 5% after hours. And then it absolutely dumps. I'm gonna pull this up right now. NVIDIA, as soon as earnings were reported, we're talking an increase of like 4% in a matter of like 15 minutes. I was ecstatic. And then And afterwards, I looked at my Portofino when I got home from the gym, and it was down 6% after hours. I was like, what is going on? We reached highs of 135 on that day. Right now, NVDA got as low as 116. Makes absolutely no sense to me. Way too much uncertainty in the market. It broke through some support levels, but went right back up. We're looking at, I think right now, as of today, it closed at 125. So right above that 118 support level that I forecasted on my Instagram. Solid plug for my Instagram. If you want to go ahead and just see trades that I make, I post them on my story whenever I make them live. So that is that. All in all, this week, kind of a brutal week. My Portofino, down 10.78% on the week on some stocks that I own. My entire portfolio is tech stocks with Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, VOO, NVIDIA, QQQ, Google, the Vanguard Growth Index, and the Semiconductor iShares ETF. It's definitely something where it's brutal to see. But when you see what the future of life looks like, everything here makes sense. I remember being up about 10% in the course of like 2 days. And I was talking to my dad and I was like, I know how good this feels right now. Like, I literally don't want to go to work. I could have stayed home and I would have made more money on those days I stayed home than going to work. And I was just like, I know that I'm up right now. And I know that just how good that these days feel when I'm up, there's going to be days where I'm down and I need to not panic, because this is not a game of day in and day out. I'm not a day trader. I'm a long-term investor, right? That's what I keep telling myself, right? And so I'm looking at NVIDIA and I'm looking at Microsoft and Amazon and Tesla and I'm like, they're going to be just fine. They're going to be absolutely just fine. I want to say I saw a statistic that said in a full year of trading in the market, right? I think they said that, because everyone knows that and everyone hears that if you invest in the S&P, like the average return is about 8 to 10%. Those returns are made on less than 5 trading days of the year. There's so many days that are up and down, but there are about 5 days a year where there's so much volume, positive volume, that those are the days that make the S&P end plus 8, plus 10, plus 15% some years out of the last 10. And so when you look at the 365 days in a year, which is probably what, 280 trading days, 250 trading days minus weekends and holidays, right? All you have to do is be there for 5 of them and you're profitable. I'm reading this book. I finished this book, it's like The Psychology of Money. It's an amazing book. And Morgan Housel, he talks about basically how everyone thinks that you just have to win more than you lose. Like you just need to win 51 and lose 49 times and you're profitable. That's not the case. You can lose 180 times, but if you win 70, depending on how good those days are, they can make up for all those losses that you had. Because those 10% days, those 12% days when the market's pumping because of good consumer reports, good earnings, they will offset all those days that went bad most of the time. Not all the time, but my point, what I'm trying to say here is on these weeks, when you're looking at your Portofino and you're like, I literally worked this week, I worked this month for free because I just lost so much money. You have to look in 5 years where you'll be. And in 5 years, what you're going to do is you're going to come back to me. You're going to say, Ruben, oh my gosh, I'm a trillionaire. And I'm going to say, dude, I know, like, let's go drive our Lambos together. And that I'm just going to put that out there because it's what it's going to be. And if you buy a Lambo because you listen to what I said, fantastic. I guess this would be a good time to tell you that I'm not a licensed financial advisor. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing with you what I am doing. And I tend to be profitable. I have a consultant business that I work for my dad, and it is doing great. Dad's an awesome businessman. I learned everything I got from him. I own a clothing company, has also been profitable. So everything that I'm doing so far, I'm just sharing with you guys, and hopefully that we can learn together because I'm not perfect. I have bad days too. But I'm here just showcasing it with you, documenting this with you, so that way we can understand finance together, learn together, and hopefully have a few giggles here and there. So yeah, that's my tech dominant portfolio. Down a lot this week, up a lot today, up 7% on just today, Friday the 28th. But yeah, there's a couple options contracts I have open right now, some leaps contracts on NVIDIA expiring in March of 2026. I have 2 more leaps options on NVIDIA, one on SoFi, and I think I have one on Microsoft. I think I just closed that one. But I have these open call options. I am selling calls against them, doing like a poor man's covered calls technique just to get some premium cash flow in there. But right now it's volatile. I don't want to sell any calls because I know that at any moment Tesla could be up 8%. So kind of just holding right now. I wouldn't say that I'm doing a hard buy or a hard sell. I've been accumulating a few more shares of NVIDIA, a few more shares of other of my stocks, just because I don't want to catch a falling knife, but I want to dollar cost average my average price down. And that's what I preach, is you dollar cost average. Because obviously if you bought NVIDIA at 140, I think when I made my NVIDIA video, NVIDIA was trading at 140, 143, which sounds like mountaintop highs right now. But my point is if you dollar cost average, that average price that you have per share dwindles down. And in 5, 7, 10 years, when your kids are living on the coast of Malibu because their dad trusted in NVIDIA and their dad watched Ruben Uzun YouTube videos, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, my dad's the best dad ever. And my dad is a DILF. And yeah, all because he watched Ruben Uzun on YouTube. So what is my outlook and strategy moving forward? You all have heard this. Be greedy when the market is fearful, and be fearful when the market is greedy. Right now, the market is like a little 3-year-old girl screaming there's a monster under her bed. That is the market. It is absolutely insane. And I feel like I'm the little dad. Wow. I feel like I'm like the dad that comes in the room. It's like, hey, like daughter. I don't have a daughter, but like if I did have a daughter, I would be like, daughter, don't fear, for there's no monster under your bed. And I would look under the bed, and sometimes there's a monster. And that's what this feels like right now. You're like, oh no, like don't worry, but just buy more. And then you get slapped in the face. It's like go to the store to buy your favorite pair of shoes. And you go and you buy your favorite pair of shoes. And then the guy punches you in the face. And you're like, ow. But I have my favorite pair of shoes. And then like you go and you go back and the other shoes are cheaper. And you go, okay, can I like buy another pair of shoes for cheaper? And they're like, yeah. And then you buy it and he punches you in the face again. And you're like, ow. That's what this feels like right now. I don't know if that made absolutely any sense, but at this point I'm just venting. So I'm being greedy right now while this market is being very fearful. And so this is when you invest into great companies with long-term upside. And so this is why the NVIDIAs, the Microsofts, the Metas, these companies, the Apples that are going to have some insane upside, they're not going to dissipate. I promise you, Microsoft will be here in 10, 15, 50 years. It will be here. Do not fret. Do not worry, my friend. Now, if you're investing in some weirdo companies, it's completely up to you. Completely up to you. Corrections are good in the market. When we see some pullbacks, it's good. It's okay. The market's always trying to find a fair value. It makes sense. This is finance. You can't just make finance up. For every seller, there's a buyer. For every buyer, there's a seller. We're constantly searching for a fair price. Corrections are okay. What this is in the market, though, it seems more than a correction. It seems like a correction and a pullback, yes, but it also seems like a lot of consumer fear feeding into that as well. I've said that a lot already. I feel like get my point, right? Consumer fear is driving the market. And so I think people are seeing a pullback. They're seeing that this is going to go absolutely gone. And so they're selling as well. A lot of RSI indicators are showing that a lot of these stocks are overbought. And so this is what the numbers are saying. This is what I'm feeling. This is everything that I've read. My stack of books here. This is what I'm trying to live. I'm not going to tell you guys advice that I'm not going to live myself. So this is what I am doing. I'm selling covered calls on my Leap options because I believe in the long-term profitability and success of NVIDIA, of some companies. And I'm getting into SoFi. SoFi is something that I think is an up-and-coming stock that I'm getting into as well. But I'm potentially looking into diversifying my money into some other sectors. I'm not fully sure on it yet. The only reason why I have such a volatile and undiverse portfolio as of right now is because I am young. If I lose some money on this tech sector and this AI sector, I'm not gonna lose my house. I'm not gonna lose my wife and kids because I don't have a wife and kids. I'm not gonna lose my life because I'm 22 years old. I have a lot of life left to live. Now, if you're 45, have a mortgage, a wife, and 4 kids, do not do what I am doing. Please diversify. I'm looking into it, maybe getting into some consumer defensive stocks, maybe some dividend paying stocks, just so I can see some income coming in with my sold puts and sold calls that I'm doing in my portfolio. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys are currently investing into, what your portfolio looks like, your portofino. If you made money this week, if you've lost money this week, go ahead, let me know. Comment down below, DM me on Instagram, hit me up on Threads. I'm on it all. I would greatly appreciate if you guys would go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel. I post videos like this all the time. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Follow me on Instagram at Ruben Uzun. I'll be posting some more of my content on there. With all that being said, my investing goblins, I hope that you guys will make some more money next week. I hope the markets are green. And I hope that you keep learning, you keep investing, don't give up, and I'll see you next time.